welcome to our final test of our backdoor and command and control center. Now what I did for this lecture, I installed Windows 7 virtual machine that I'm going to test with my Windows 10 virtual machine. I compiled the backdoor, made it look like an image, copied it to the desktop on my Windows 10 machine, and I also copied it to the desktop of my Windows 7 machine. Now we're going to test these two programs together and see whether we can accept both of the connections to our command and control center at the same time. I haven't tested it before, so let's see whether it will work. If there are some errors, we're going to fix them. Let's first run the command and control center, go to your Kali Linux, go to your backdoor project and type python 3 command and control.py. It says waiting for the incoming connections, so let's go and run the first program, which is going to be on the Windows 7 machine. Now, in case you don't have two Windows machines, I will make sure to link in the resources a tutorial on how to install Windows 7 virtual machine. Then you can create two virtual environments running Windows and you can test your command and control center with the backdoor. Now let's run this program. I double click on run. It will open up an image. Everything seems to work correctly, nothing else is being opened up than this image. Let's go back to Kali Linux and see whether we got the connection. We're still waiting for the connection, but that is because of that 20 seconds timeout, so let's just wait a few more seconds and the connection should pop up right here. Okay, so here it is. We got the message 192.168.1.6 has connected. Now, if we try to run the command, for example, targets, which is the command in order to list all of the available sessions, we only have one session. Now let's see whether we can enter this session and execute commands there. If we type session 0 and type who am I, we get the output that we are John PC, which is my Windows 7 machine. Now if we want to, for example, quit this session, we can simply just go and type quit and type targets once again, try to enter the session once again, type who am I, and this time this session will not work. That is something that we need to fix, so this is the first bug, make sure to keep it in mind. Right now what we're going to do is we're going to try to see whether we can connect the second target. Let's first of all close the command and control center, run it again, python 3 command and control center.py, and now let's run both of these programs. We run picture.jpg on our Windows 7 machine. It seems to work. Let's go on our Windows 10 machine and run once again picture.jpg. This seems to work on Windows 10 as well. We open up the image. Let's go to our Kali Linux and see whether we get both connections prompted to us. We got the connection from the Windows 7 machine. Now we are waiting for the connection of Windows 10 machine. Here it is. We got both sessions connected. Now if we try to print the sessions with the targets command, we can see we have session 0 and session 1. Let's first enter the session 1. So I will type session 1, type who am I, this should be Windows 10 machine, here it is. If I type quit, it will close the session, but it will still remain inside of our command and control center, and that is something that we need to fix. But let's first of all go to session 0, type who am I, and this works as well. Okay, so let's quit these sessions, exit the command and control center, and now let's see what we need to fix in order for us to be able to switch between sessions without closing them. So let's go to our PyCharm inside of our backdoor project. Right here we can add an else if statement. Else if command equals to, for example, background, which will indicate that we want to background the session. We can simply just pass. Instead of using quit, which will break out of this loop, the background will simply pass and go to the beginning of the while true loop, and there it will wait for the second command, which can be for hours. That's why we want to background that session in case we want to get back to it later on. Now that we fixed that, let's test it once again. I'm going to compile the program once again and then we will see whether it works. Okay, so here it is. I compiled the fixed version of backdoor after we added the else if statement for the background command, and now let us see whether it will work. But before we even start, we need to make sure that inside of our command and control center we also input the background command. So go to the target communication function, and below the quit if statement we can add else if command equals background. Then we will break out of this loop. Now the reason why we are breaking out of this loop inside of our server is because we want to break out of the target communication and go back to the while true loop, which is our command and control center. And in our backdoor, we only want to pass and go to the beginning of the while true loop. So let's test our program. Type in Python 3 command and control center.py. Waiting for the incoming connections. Let's run the program on our Windows 10 machine. Let's also run the program on Windows 7 machine. Here on Windows 7 we got the image open. Let's close it right here. And on our Windows 10 machine we also got the image open, and let's close it right here. What we are interested in is whether we got the connections on our command and control. Let's wait for just a few seconds and see whether we get the connections. Okay, so here is the first one. And here is the second connection. Both of our machines have connected to our command and control. Now let's see whether we can switch between those two sessions. If I type targets command, we will get all of our available sessions with their ID. Let's enter session 1. Type who am I. We are the John PC, so this is Windows 7. And now if I type background, it will return me to the command and control. And if I type session once again, or targets, pardon me, if we type targets once again, and we want to enter back to our Windows 7 machine and enter session 0 once again, type who am I, we can still execute the command. So we can switch between two different sessions. We can background this one and go into session with Windows 10 machine. If I type who am I, now we get the output for Windows 10 machine, and we can go back and forth as long as we want. We can also execute other commands, such as for example screenshot, which we implemented into our backdoor. Once we enter the screenshot for our Windows 10 machine, we can then background it, clear the screen, and go back to the machine of Windows 7 and execute the screenshot there as well, if we want. Okay, so now that we see that we can navigate between different sessions, let us see whether we can send the same command to both of the machines. If I type send all, and I want the command to be make dir test, what this command will do is it will create a directory or folder on both of the machines called test. If I type enter, we will get the output that to both of the machines the command has been sent. So let's check it out. We first of all go to Windows 7 machine. Let's refresh right here. For some reason we don't get the test directory. Let's first see on our Windows 10 machine. For some reason this doesn't seem to work. Let's refresh and give it another try. Let's type right here. If we type send all, and let's for example type mkdir folder. Now if we go to Windows 7 machine, refresh this page, we still don't get the folder. Okay, so I think I found the problem, and the problem is in the mkdir command. Since that is the only command that doesn't work for some reason, therefore there is not really any problem with our code. We can execute other commands if we try. For example, let me show you. If we type send all, first of all let's clear the screen so we can see everything better. And if I type send all, and for example I want to open Notepad, so send all Notepad, click on enter, you will see that on our Windows 10 machine the Notepad will open. If we go to Windows 7 machine, the Notepad will also open. So we successfully sent the command which was executed by both of these machines. Now if we for example want to attack with a DDoS some website, I could either upload a file and run that file on all of the machines with this command, or I can simply just send all the command to ping. And let's say for example we want to ping our Cal Linux machine, and that's why I started my Wireshark to show you the ICMP packets. The goal here is to get the ICMP packets from both Windows 7 and Windows 10 machines. If we do get from both of those machines, that means we successfully pinged from all of our targets that are connected. So let's go and send this command, send all ping 192.168.1.4, which is the IP address of my Cal Linux. Press enter, the command has been sent, and if I go to my Wireshark, we can see that we're getting the ICMP packets from two different IP addresses. Here is from the IP address 192.168.1.6 and from the IP address 192.168.1.2. Okay? So our send all function works correctly. Now there are two more things that we need to check, and that is the kill function and the exit function. If we type targets, we will see our available sessions. We can execute the commands in both of these sessions, as we can see right here. But what if, for example, I want to kill session 0? I want to kill the session with Windows 7 machine. Well, I can simply just type kill and then 0, which is the ID session of our Windows 7 machine. Press enter, and if I type targets once again, right now I will only have one session left. And that session will be the session with my Windows 10 machine. And you will notice that right now the Windows 10 machine will become session with the ID 0. So we can no longer access it with ID 1, we right now access it with ID 0. So let's try it. If I type session 0, type who am I, it is no longer Windows 7 machine since we deleted it and removed it from our sessions, it is Windows 10 machine. Okay? So that one works as well. Let's background it. And now let's try the last command, which is the exit command. If I type exit, we successfully exit our command and control center, so everything works correctly. We have a server that can accept multiple connections, that can send one command to all of the target systems that will execute them simultaneously. We can switch between different sessions and communicate with each and every target as we like, so we accomplished our goal. This project by far is the hardest project where we code our threaded server, because it might actually take some time for you to understand all the code, but don't worry, you can go over the videos one more time and you will understand it a whole lot better. You also have the code at the end of the lecture, so you don't need to code it yourself, you can simply just download the code and follow along the tutorials as I explain what each and every line do. In case next to all of that you have any other questions regarding the code, feel free to post them in the Q&A section, okay? So, thank you for watching this project, and I will see you in the next lecture. Bye!